everyone. I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. European leaders are gathering in London for a crisis meeting on the war in Ukraine after a massive public fallout between Washington and Kyiv. Rick Lowett reports.
A friend in need is a friend indeed. And embattled Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky needs all the friends he can get, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
I saw a lot of people, and I want to thank you, people of the United Kingdom, such big support from the very beginning of this war. Thank you, your team.
The hugs, smiles and bonhomie in London, a brave face as Zelensky and the world reel from a disastrous meeting with US President Donald Trump in Washington, where hopes of peace in Ukraine after 3 years of war were pushed further out of reach and left European leaders in no doubt that the transatlantic relationship has fundamentally changed.
Abend hat unterstrichen, eine neue Zeit der Ruchlosigkeit hat begonnen. Eine ruchlose Zeit, in der wir die regelbasierte internationale Ordnung und die Stärke des Rechts mehr denn je gegen die Macht der Stärkeren verteidigen müssen.
Zelensky and other European leaders are now gathering in London for a crisis meeting on how to plug the gap left by the US and keep Ukraine in the fight against Russia. They are also coming to terms with the fact that they now may be solely responsible for security in Europe, a reality that comes at a price. Britain's finance minister signing a nearly $3 billion loan to Ukraine. But many are warning that no one can fight a war in Europe without the US and its sophisticated weapon systems. The head of NATO saying the ball is in Zelensky's court after the very public falling out in the Oval Office.
Ja, ik vond dat uiterst ongelukkig. En ik heb er ook een paar keer contact over gehad met Zelensky. En gezegd, je zal toch echt moeten kijken hoe je weer je relatie opnieuw bouwt met de Amerikanen en met de Amerikaanse president. Want we moeten wel samen verder. Hè? Oekraïne, de Verenigde Staten, Europa natuurlijk, is heel belangrijk.
As ever, Trump's handling of this situation has been divisive. Many who voted for him appreciate his America First approach, while others condemned his treatment of Zelensky in protests outside the White House.
Stand with Ukraine!
Stand with Ukraine!
In the fiery exchange, already guaranteed to go down in history, Trump accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III. As crisis engulfs Europe and the world waits to see Russian President Vladimir Putin's next move, leaders gathering in London are scrambling to prevent just that from happening. Patrick Chen and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
In Tel Aviv, thousands of people are calling for an extension to the ceasefire in Gaza as the first 42-day truce expires.
You can't know what will happen tomorrow, next week or next month. It's eating you from the inside, even if we act as everything is normal. It's crazy.
We're just caught in a loop because the Prime Minister has other issues he needs to solve, and we're caught into that. And citizens caught into that, and citizens are dying due to that.
Israel had sought to extend phase 1 of the ceasefire, which included the exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners. But Palestinian militant group Hamas has rejected this, saying further deals must include Israel withdrawing its troops from Gaza. 24 Israeli hostages are thought to still be alive in Gaza. Recall movements in Taiwan are pitting ruling and opposition supporters against each other. And while some recall campaigns have hit roadblocks, neither side shows signs of stepping back. John Van Trieste reports.
On this Taipei street, a group of yellow-vested volunteers hopes to be part of a political shakeup. These are unhappy constituents looking to recall ruling party lawmaker Wu Si-yao and gathering the signatures they need to make it happen. This is one of many political recall campaigns that have sprung up across Taiwan this year as partisan feeling seethes, both inside the legislative chamber and out. But not all campaigns have gone equally smoothly, and the Wu Si-yao recall campaign here is now a bit stuck. A recall vote is a complicated procedure. In stage 1, campaigners need 1% of constituent voters to sign up to the idea of ousting a politician. Then there's a second signature gathering round, where campaigners need 10% of area voters to sign within a limited time. Only then does the actual recall vote go ahead. 19 campaigns targeting opposition Kuomintang lawmakers have cleared the first stage, plus a campaign against Hsinchu's mayor. But while 9 campaigns targeting the ruling Democratic Progressive Party might go ahead, the Election Commission says it needs more documents first. This isn't deterring those who want their ruling party lawmakers gone.
我们还没有收到正式的通知跟公告，也没有公文给我们，也没有接到电话。我们现在没有办法掌握到底我们需要补多少件，但是我们会用最高的标准去看这件事情。所以我会希望的是，我们第一阶段送的是2836，那未来呢，我们现在补件的目标，希望还可以再连署到大概2000件左右。
The Election Commission says a main concern is that petitions to oust ruling party members have the signatures of dead people on them. On the petition to remove lawmaker Li Kun-cheng, for instance, it found 139 dead people's names. Li sees this as vindication.
不要再硬凹说是死人还魂出来联署，对家属来讲等于是2次的伤害。
But with so much antagonism across party lines, on issues from the budget to the way the Constitutional Court works, neither side is backing down from the threat of a mass recall vote. The leader of the Kuomintang even says the stuck campaigns against ruling party rivals are a worthy cause.
碰到中选会这么严格的一个审查，我相信对他们来讲也是一项很大的挑战。在补件的过程，我们应该多给这些青年朋友加油，我们多给大家来鼓励啊！毕竟他们有这样的热情，我们都是应该予以肯定。
Recall votes aren't unusual in Taiwan, but the mass recall season that seems to lie ahead is something new, meaning the nation's politics could soon be entering some unfamiliar territory. Luffy Lee and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A Japanese naval ship reportedly made a solo transit of the Taiwan Strait in early February. The destroyer Akizuki from Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force is just the second Japanese naval ship to pass through the sensitive waterway. The passage intended to stress freedom of navigation, likely a message to China, which has been ramping up military pressure in the region. Japan's first transit through the strait took place just last September, but that time its warship was joined by ships from Australia and New Zealand.
这一次它独自的穿越台湾海峡，也彰显日本方面对于台海安全跟稳定的重要性，凸显印太的这个航行自由。
Taipei rejects Beijing's claim that the Taiwan Strait belongs to China's internal waters. Filipino Catholics in Taiwan continue to offer prayers for the recovery of Pope Francis.
Yung pagiging yung puso niya sa mahirap, kasi isa tayo sa mahirap at palaging well affected ng typhoon at ng iba pang calamities. Yun yung nadarama talaga ng pagmamahal ng mga Pilipino, ang puso ni Santo Papa sa mga mahirap at lalo higit sa mga Pilipino.
They're still thinking positive na sana gumaling talaga siya. Yun lang. Hopefully, maririnig ng Lord sa dami-dami na nagdadasal para sa Kanya. Siguro naman, my good news in a few days.
Over a dozen masses are taking place at St. Christopher's Church in Taipei after the Pope suffered a respiratory crisis. Taiwan is home to about 100,000 migrant workers who are Catholic, many of them from the Philippines, the country with the largest Christian community in Asia. The Vatican says the Pope's condition has stabilized. Taiwan Travelogue, an award-winning Taiwanese novel written by Yang Shuangzi, is set during the Japanese colonial period and explores the complex relationship between its Japanese narrator and her native Taiwanese interpreter. To discuss themes of colonialism, imperialism, and 20th century power, Jeremy Olivier sat down with the book's English translator, Lin King.
So tell us more about this book. Who are these two main characters, and how does the historical setting of the novel shape the relationship?
So our narrator is Aoyama Chizuko, who is a young Japanese writer who's published a very popular work, and she is then invited to Taiwan to kind of give a press tour, give talks, and to write articles to be printed in Japan, telling the Japanese people what the colony is like. This is set in the 1930s. And she meets her Taiwanese interpreter, who is an even younger woman, but a very accomplished linguist, and seemingly, from Aoyama's perspective, a perfect woman who knows everything, is good at everything, and Aoyama becomes very infatuated with this young woman who she calls Qi-jiang, whose Mandarin name is Wang Qianhe, and the story unfolds from there.
Can you talk a little bit more about the power dynamic between them?
I don't want to spoil, but the story is about Aoyama, who very earnestly, so she thinks, wants to befriend and meet the locals, the Taiwanese, the so-called islanders, at their level, and she thinks that they are at her level as well. That's like the premise with which she approaches her relationships, but as we'll see over the course of the book, Qi-jiang sees it quite differently, and she understands that there is inevitable power relation between the colonizer and the colonized, and that no matter how much goodwill there are just certain bounds that can't be overcome and certain blind spots that can't be seen. So the book uses Japanese, Taiwanese, or Hokkien, Hoklo, Taigi, whatever you want to call it, and Mandarin. But in English, because we don't have the characters, we only have the pronunciation, the romanization. I had to make decisions from the very get-go of, okay, do we confuse the reader by saying this is pronounced, Taipei now, but it was pronounced Taihoku then, and that would have been how they pronounce it in conversation. Same for the people's names. So in Japanese, Qianhe's name is Chizuru, but that's not her, all the facets of her name. So the English translation, I think, really challenges readers in some ways more so than the original, by forcing you to remember all the different pronunciations of people's names, the names of places and foods as well.
So the two protagonists of this book, they travel around Taiwan enjoying the local scenery and delicacies. Would these have been familiar to Taiwanese readers today?
I think about half of the dishes mentioned would be, and then half are very much not familiar, either because they're very regional, because they're historical, or because the final banquet involves like dishes that even Shuangzi, the author herself, had to do a lot of research to try to imagine. Some of these dishes are very much a product of our culinary history that is no longer widely available.
Why do you think that Yang Shuangzi chose a glutton as the narrator of the story?
Well, I know that part of it is personal, as in she loves to eat Shuangzi. But that also, I think she's invested a lot of research as a literary scholar into the history of Taiwanese food, and there's both the literary desire to kind of attract readers with this, oh, come read about food, look how delicious this sounds, while hiding kind of this undercurrent of very serious themes about power dynamics, about interpersonal relationships, about imperialism. There's definitely that as well, as in, this is just a travelogue, come read about these two young women who eat their way across Taiwan. And there's more to that.
That was Lin King, translator of the novel Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Shuangzi. You can watch the full interview at TaiwanPlus.com. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, check out this Tibetan Buddhist dance at a monastery in northern India. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.